Hello, Jen here with a layout for Tuesdays in the Attic as well as Scraptember. So I am showing you the Freaky Fast formula right there that we're going to be using for Tuesdays in the Attic. That's what this series is all about. We follow the Scraproom's Freaky Fast formulas. So you can go back. I have the link to the Scraproom Facebook group. They post those monthly as a challenge, but you can go back even further on their blog and find them right from the very beginning. They weren't really posted on any kind of regular basis. It was just kind of whenever they thought maybe, someone could use a formula. Essentially, the formulas are like a jumping off point to get your layout started. If you're kind of sitting there and have that blank page syndrome, you can go and grab one of these formulas and it just prompts you to cut your papers to different sizes, and then you just move them around the paper, your background paper, and see what you can come up with. So it's just a little way to get those creative juices flowing, and we're following through, Jacqie and I, right from the very beginning all the way through. Jacqie and I sometimes are skipping a week or maybe a whole month here and there. So we're doing our best, but things come up, life comes up, and that's why we get along so well, because we both kind of run in that no worries, flexibility type mode. And so between the two of us, I think we're posting most weeks, almost every week, with a few gaps, but that's okay. It's really just for fun and just to have a little bit of inspiration and try something a little bit different. And it's really interesting to see when we put our layouts together, and when Mel, I'll leave her link down below too, when she plays along and there's 3 layouts, it's really interesting to see that even though we're all coming from the same starting point, we always end up with totally different layouts. So it's definitely a fun series to follow along. I have a playlist there. So yeah, I showed you the measurements for that. And then at the top of that little list, I also shared the prompts that I'm using for Scraptember. So, and at the very beginning of the video, I did post the whole calendar. So if you want to play along with Scraptember, it's a whole month-long series. It happens every September. It's put on by Katie and Jessica and Laura. So they go through and they pick prompts for every day of the week. So it could be a technique or a product or maybe a style. There are some sketch prompts, and all of the sketches are included, and a scrap lift. So just a lot of fun, and you can follow along as much or as little as you would like. So the links to the Facebook group are all down below, and yeah, you can just pop in there, share your creations, find the different prompts for the day, or just jump back to the beginning of this video and go ahead and take a screenshot if you wanted, and the calendar is there. And also the master playlist where everybody who's creating videos will be adding their videos. So some people are doing the whole 30 days. Other people are just jumping in whenever they can. So that is the best place to find all the creators that are creating process videos for you. So I am not playing every day just because I have to be realistic. I always have the intentions of wanting to follow along every day, and it rarely turns out that way. Maybe one day when I don't have a preschooler and I don't have, obligations with my family as much as I do now. My kids are still young enough that they need me. Maybe then I will be able to kind of find that time that I can weed out to go ahead and follow along for a whole 30-day series. But right now, I just don't. But I love all the prompts, and I always feel bad when I miss certain ones, because oftentimes what I'll do is go through my calendar and find all of the places where I have design team obligations or series obligations and use the different prompts that fit there. Or for 30 days of sketches, I'll go through and pick out all the sketches that correspond to those days. For off the board, same thing. I'll find the days that work and then find the Pinterest inspiration to go with those days. And inevitably, I'm going to miss some days that are really cool sketches or prompts or whatever it might be. So I'm trying something a little bit different this time. I've done this occasionally, but it's a little bit harder with something like a sketch. And so with prompts like this, it's something that I can definitely do and definitely manage. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, as much as possible, try to do one layout per prompt on the days when I know I can actually post that particular prompt. But for all the other ones, I'm going to combine them. So for this particular layout, I'm actually combining day 1, day 2, and day 3. So day 1 was day 1 was family. So I'm using a picture of my kids minus the littlest because he wasn't born yet. But my 3 kids are here and my brother's 4 kids are there. So that's the family. All the cousins are together. And then day 2's prompt was a white background. So you can see I'm using a white cardstock background. And then day 3 was a sketch. And so I just went and grabbed the sketch. That's also at the beginning of the video, so you can go back and check. I think the sketch was designed by Jacqie. Yeah, there it is again. So I'm combining all 3 of those to create today's layout. I did actually create it in day 3. So even though I'm not posting it until day 5 or September 5th, it was created during those days. And so throughout the month, you might see some layouts that only have one prompt, and you might see some layouts where I've combined a few of them. So I'm thinking the way I have this organized, I sat down with my calendar and tried to organize it, that I'm going to be able to get all 30 prompts, even if I don't actually create 30 separate layouts or 30 separate projects. So hopefully that works out and I stay on track. Obviously, we're back to school, and the kids are going back to school, routines are going to get back on track and all that kind of stuff. So usually in September, I can kind of ramp up some of my scrappy time and my crafty time and mom time with the kids going to bed earlier again and things like that. So yeah, cross your fingers and please play along. It is actually super, super fun. And I really love the idea of prompts because it's almost like, if you have a bunch of ideas and you're feeling super creative, you might not necessarily need the prompt, but you could take that prompt and really run with it and do something super cool. But if you're having an off day where you just, you've lost your mojo, you're just really struggling to try to be creative, it's always fun to have that prompt to kind of initiate something and just get something started. So it's kind of a win-win and tons of fun. So definitely play along. And so let me tell you about the layout. I went ahead and grabbed my white background and my family photo. And then the photo is just of the kids kind of at the park. I love when I'm able to capture some moments like this where they're all together. They get along really, really well. And I definitely don't take for granted that my kids are able to grow up with their cousins. I think that that's a real blessing. I grew up with my cousins on actually both sides of my family as well as extended cousins, and that is still something that was really important to me, and those are relationships that I still to this day carry on, and we're all still really close. So it's really important to me and kind of special that my kids get to have that experience as well. And so I love to take these little snapshots, but there wasn't any sort of specific or particular theme to it. So I just dug right into my How to Kill a Kit with Style kit from, this is still my August kit. I hadn't at this point yet put together my September kit. So I just pulled out things that I thought kind of matched kids being on a playground. So some brighter colors and just, scraps, really, things that I thought I could definitely cut the right measurements from the Freaky Fast formula and kind of combine everything, bring everything together properly. So there's Paige Evans in there, and Simple Stories, and Altenew. And is that it? That might be it. There's some cardstock in there. So just some random bits and pieces. And I just pulled them all out and kind of figured out which papers were large enough that I could cut the individual measurements from. So there was a measurement that was 6.5 by 7. There was a measurement that was 2.5 by 4.5, 3/4 by 12, 1.5 by 11.5, 2.5 by 10, and then a 4-inch circle and a 3-inch circle. I think that was all of them. So I cut those all out, and then I really did want to try my best to make those measurements fit with the sketch. So you can see where I was kind of going with that. Instead of having one larger circle, I used the 2 smaller ones that I had to cut. And then instead of having more of a pie shape or triangle shapes to my papers, I left them as rectangles. There were a couple where I had to sort of cut them and spread them a little bit longer, but I didn't even do that for, I guess 2 of them I did and 2 of them I didn't. So, if I could keep them their original length that they were supposed to be based off of the formula, I left them that way. The larger piece that I used that Paige Evans paper on, I was trying to decide, do I cut it into a 3rd circle? Do I cut it into 2 triangles and try to fit it in? And then I thought, no, I'm just going to throw it in there as that. It's not even really a square because it's 6.5 by 7.5, so it's a rectangle. I just left it that way, and I thought, that works for me. It's not an exact match to the sketch. It is just using the essence of the sketch and kind of working with the materials that I have, which is what you're supposed to do with a sketch anyways. So I like it. I think it's just kind of fun and weird and quirky, and that's exactly what being at the playground with a bunch of kids is. So I think that works for me. And so I just kind of threw those all together. I felt like because nothing matches and nothing is the exact same size, I didn't want to try to line things up and make it look perfect. I always say that if something is really straight and clean and measured, try to make everything else straight and clean and measured. And if something is not, so if you're tearing edges or you're not using your trimmer to cut things, and so you're cutting by hand or you're drawing by hand, whatever it might be, do everything that way, and then it looks intentional and purposeful, and the little elements that maybe don't stand out, the little elements that might be different don't stand out because your eye can't really tell that something is not what it's supposed to be. Hopefully I explained that in a way that made sense. But so I kind of threw that all down, found that design that I thought worked really good. I did embellish in the same general areas. I added my title with a couple extra embellishments around the title, but my title is essentially in the same area as in the sketch. I did some stitching. The stitching in the sketch definitely looks more like machine stitching. I didn't do that. My machine is broken. Well, it's not broken. I think it's called the kick plate, I think. That part is broken, so I need to get a new one. So I just hand stitched really, really quickly. I kept it all in so you can see. I get a lot of questions about that. I definitely sped it up. I'm not that quick, but just, quickly poked some holes and did a little bit of hand stitching with different colors so that it also has that more whimsical handmade thrown together kind of feel to it. And then added my few little embellishments, some flair, some little stars, and some sequins, of course. And then I'm finishing it off with a splatter of blue, and that's it. That is my layout for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, check out all those links down below and the master playlist, and I will be back again soon. So until next time, happy scrapping. Bye.
Thanks to me. What about the channel?